Hey YouTube, this is David, the Georgia photographer, and I just want to say I appreciate everybody that's been coming by the channel lately. It's been awesome. On top of that, I want to talk about how I was able to get these photos of these songbirds over the weekend at a friend of mine's house, and how easy it was to do with a manual focus lens. Now, I shot those photos with my Fuji X-T3 and an adapted 200mm f4 lens, and I was shooting inside their house. These photos are through their bay window. I was surprised. The sun was already basically crested past the window, so there was no glare from the sunlight on the glass. And I was just standing there watching the birds raid that bird feeder, and I was just, and I told the people that own the house, it's like, I really need to go get my camera. And they just said, go get it. So I went and got these photos. But what worked out the best was I was trying to get a good angle because the bird feeder was casting heavy shadow because the sun was nearly directly overhead. Because of that, it forced me to hunt other shots. I had to wait for the birds to move away from the bird feeder for the most part to be able to get a reasonably exposed frame of them. And that allowed me to like get different kinds of poses other than just shooting each bird as it landed on the bird feeder. I was able to get them on tree limbs and this and way and that. I was shooting continuous low speed. I had my shutter speed set to, I think it was 1/1000th of a second. I had the ISO cranked up to where I could maintain that shutter speed. And I had the lens set to f4. I was shooting wide open on the lens. I was literally about 8 or 10 feet from the bird feeder, just on the other side of the window in the dining room. And I was able to get over against the side of the bay window and brace myself because I didn't carry a tripod or anything with me. Photography fail. Didn't have all my gear. But I was running light and lean, you know. So what I done was I braced the camera and my shutter hand against the wall, and then I just set up a focus trap. I focused on the bird feeder, and I'd zoom on in on it, and I'd just sit there looking through the electronic viewfinder, and I'd just wait till something landed, and I'd clean up the focus a little bit, make sure the feathers were nice and sharp, and I'd just start firing frames. Them birds can hear that shutter firing through that window, and it would scare them when they fly away. I would have never guessed it, but it happened. The most edgiest of the birds is the ones I wasn't able to get photos of, the bigger woodpeckers. Them big, huge woodpeckers would come down there and raid that bird feeder. They would literally stay there just long enough to get some kind of black sunflower seeds. They'd grab one of them seeds and they were gone. I could not get a frame of one of those. The little blue and white bird is a woodpecker. I'm not real sure. I know I got a frame of one looking over his shoulder. He was chewing on that limb pretty hard. That's what's in his beak is a bug he dug out of the tree limb. But it was actually really fun taking photos of those little songbirds right out that window. Since I was so close, I was able to get much more detail. You know, I was only, seriously, 8 or 10 feet away, maybe 15 feet to some of those limbs where they would move away from the feeder up into the tree limbs. And I was able to crop them down and still get what to me looked like a good composition without it being this little tiny bird in a great big picture. You know, if you like to shoot photos of birds, I like to do nature photography of all styles. If you get an opportunity like that, go get the camera out of the truck. Just pick the camera up. That's one of my subscribers from early on that I'm now friends with on Facebook. That's one of his sayings. His name is Russell Horton. He has Russell Horton Photography. He's out in California. If you're on Facebook, go over to his page, look him up. He does great things. His sayings, just pick up the camera. So I went out to the truck and got it. And I had a lot of fun with it. I took a bunch of pictures. The point of this whole video is basically just showing you that you're not bound to, you know, fancy autofocus lenses and modern, well, that camera is modern. Ignore that part. You're not bound to high-tech equipment. Yeah, the camera I was using is high-tech, but this camera would have got those shots. It would have. It still was easy to get those frames because the glass gave me a disconnect from the subject, so I was able to get closer. And another point is that the closer you can get to your subject, the better your images are going to turn out. You know, you're going to have more resolution and more detail. That's all I was doing. I just wanted to share some of these photos of the little songbirds I was able to catch over the weekend with you guys so y'all could see it. I thought they were really cute. I've been sprinkling them through my Instagram for the past couple of days. If you don't follow me on Instagram, I'm Low Stress Photog. It's down in the description and all that. This is David, the Georgia photographer, and I appreciate y'all's time, and y'all have a good one. We'll talk to y'all later. Bye-bye.